What do you think is going on over there?
I don't know. Every time I've tried to visit them, they climb up a cliff without me and then just point at me and laugh until I leave.
I'm very sorry for you.
Don't be. It's my job. Pointing and laughing at me makes their commander happy, and a happy commander is good for everyone they command.
Oh, that's really deep, sir.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, welcome one and all to what I'd like to describe as a celebration of what we have been given. We've all been shown the trailer and some gameplay for Monster Hunter Rise, the newest Monster Hunter game releasing for the Nintendo Switch at the end of March 2021, and it has me absolutely dripping with excitement. Not that I know what a drop of excitement looks like, but there is a certain aura of intrigue and mystery that comes at this stage of pre-release. We know so little about the game as a whole, which means that so much is possible to happen. So much is possible to be in there because we just don't know for sure. Some stuff we can make some slight reasonable logical leaps with based on what we have seen and what we've been told, but you know me, I always love to cap things off at the end with something a little bit bigger and bolder than that. So at least you now know what to expect.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
Starting off with some reasonable yet quite exciting assumptions then, we've heard word that one of the calling cards of Monster Hunter Rise is going to be the monster variety, specifically when it comes to a variety of monster skeletons. And we've already seen this with the proper amphibian Tetranadon and the glimpse of a spidery Temnoceran that we got as well. However, if this statement is true, then it isn't unreasonable to expect that we will see some sort of insect-based large monsters around the place, or maybe even some carapaceans as well. Who knows, maybe even a snake wyvern or two. But even past that, if they truly want this game to be remembered for its variety, I wouldn't be too surprised if we just get a new monster type or skeleton entirely. Though that is definitely the more hopeful end of the spectrum of speculation on this part of the topic right here. The next thing I wanted to talk about is how much this will feel like New World hunting over Old World hunting. And some of this I have more concrete beliefs on, and some I am just opening to discussion with you guys because I could really see it going either way and I want to hear your thoughts. First up, we know that we have large New World style maps, but potentially even larger and definitely with more verticality, while also having the vivid, almost cartoony aesthetic of the old style games. So clearly the game is taking inspiration from both sides of the coin here.
I may have something that both of you will like.
I'm going to start off with what I think is the most important to our gameplay as a whole, the skill system. In the old games, for those who don't know, armor would give you a rating and a skill, +6 in attack, -4 in defense, as just a random example. Those numbers individually didn't do anything for you, but when you reach certain thresholds, the first of which being +10, you activate the skill in question. For example, +10 in attack is attack up rank 1. In the New World, however, every rank of a skill that we see actually does something for us. It's very simplified. I personally expect that we will see this New World skill system once again. It would make sense if it is just straight up easier to use, so given that easier systems to understand generally mean that you will attract more new players, I would be surprised to see this one go back. One thing that I do hope is brought back now that this is going to be on a portable system again though, is the pause functionality. In some old-style Monster Hunter games, you can actually pause the game mid-hunt if you're in a solo hunt, and that just tips up the convenience of the game so much. Sometimes I don't hunt, just because I can't guarantee that I have 15 minutes of uninterrupted time to ensure a dead monster before I have to walk away. But a pause function means that you can hunt in short bursts, however much time that you have to do so. Just pause and come back to it. 1 minute of hunting? Fine. Do that minute, pause it, come back to it when you have another minute of free time. It's easy. So while I don't know one way or another on this one, I am super hopeful that this will make its way back into the series. It's just really good quality of life. There are also still questions up in the air about whether or not item boxes will still be available during the quests, as that has been a hotly debated topic of New World hunting, as well as the ability to move while drinking a potion. However, I do think that the second one will come back, as it just sort of makes the gameplay smoother. Maybe not literally better, but smoother, which is something they are definitely aiming for. There are also questions about whether we could see the return of gunner armor as a thing, and while I could see this happening, I think it would essentially remove our current alpha and beta set options, as balancing skills around mix sets for essentially twice as many armor sets if you are having a gunner version of everything would be a very big task. So the way that I see it, either we continue with the alpha and beta, or we get gunner back, but very unlikely that we have both alpha and beta and gunner. A couple more things quickly then. During this turf war with everyone's favorite new amphibian, having a bit of a scuffle with the honey bear himself. The camera is really low, and the camera's movement is a little bit inconsistent, which leads us to believe one of two things. Either this is in some sort of in-game view mode, and this function will be returning from Iceborne, which is something that I hope will be a thing, or number two, the more out there answer, the return of Prowler as a fighting style, the extra weapon in Generations where you can fight as a palico. Some people think that this might be back simply due to a slightly lower than hunter height camera with some shakiness in it. I'm not saying that they're wrong, in fact this one could be totally right. It's just a bit of a leap to make at this moment in time for me, so I will label this one as just possible. Past this, I am going to quickly rattle off a number of monsters that I think would be reasonable to believe we can see in the game and this combat style, starting with Mizutsune. He just fits the general style and aesthetic of the game nearly perfectly. I mean, this is definitely the environment to bring Mizutsune back to. It would just make sense, and on top of that, we have already seen that the palicos can create green healing bubbles, which would be really easy to repurpose as the bubbles of a specific paintbrush-tailed fox leviathan. Amatsu is another creature I can see making a brilliant return in this title. The Storm Dragon, this monster controls all kinds of weather to create a truly terrifying fight with tons of big, scary, impactful moments while also being enjoyable on the moment-to-moment level of the hunt itself. This is also a monster who floats, using the Leviathan skeleton and the excuse of controlling wind to essentially have these swimming monster animations, but midair, and it's a really brilliant way to make this monster work. But I could totally see this creature shining in this game, especially with the range of movement that the hunter has. I feel like one thing people are forgetting about is that the wire bug also looks like it can be used to essentially dodge vertically over attacks. So I feel like they are going to be adding attacks from monsters with way more inventive ways to dodge them based around stuff like this. And Amatsu, especially as a monster who floats midair like you will be doing with the wire bug, seems like a great companion monster to these mechanics of this game. Along those same lines, we have a personal favorite of mine, Yamasukami.
Octopus or nothing.
This floating balloon octopus monster with razor tentacles and a full-on forest-level ecosystem on his back would be amazing to see in this game, not only giving him a well-deserved graphics update where you could actually see the details of all the living things all over him, but mechanically speaking, even more so than Amatsu, I feel like Capcom could take advantage of the uniqueness of the wire bug to allow this monster to have a truly ideal fight. Maybe we could even fight one of the elder Yamasukami that has grown to be a far larger size, giving us a full-on siege fight type deal. Look, if there was one siege fight I would ever fight for to exist, it is giant Yamasukami. Though, that aside, I feel like regular sized Yamasukami is definitely not quite out of the running to return quite yet. Then, finally, we have my big one, my big speculation, my ridiculous idea. What if they've been hiding something a little bit major from us? The third generation of Monster Hunter introduced underwater combat. Combat within a 3D space that changed the movement and combat style of every weapon in the game, creating a secondary hunting experience within the same game and adding a ton of variety in the process. Now, the easy call here would be, maybe we just get underwater combat back in this game. And I don't think that's impossible by any means. The setting would probably fit pretty decently, but to me, that just doesn't quite fit the personality of this game, the personality of a game called Rise, and it's already been done before. There is, however, another way of putting combat into a truly 3D space, one that fits the general themes of Monster Hunter Rise.
Today's the day, girls. We're going to fly.
That's right, my zaniest prediction is this: aerial combat. No, not like aerial insect glaive, no, like true aerial combat through some combination of the wire bug and some smithy inventions. Maybe, why couldn't we, through some strange logic, explain hunters fighting 50 feet off the ground, just for the length of a hunt? Okay, maybe I sound crazy, but try thinking about it from a gameplay perspective. Picture all of these monsters that we have in the series that we know and we love with wings that we have fought mostly on the ground, and think of how much it would unlock their movesets to be full aerial fights. The same way that in the third generation fighting a monster on land was a totally different experience to fighting it underwater. You are in their element, their domain, where they are the strongest, and something about watching the wirebug movement out of combat where this hunter just zips from a cliffside to another cliffside, just back-to-back wirebug grabs, it makes me think stuff like this could maybe happen. Maybe it's a little far-fetched, maybe if something this big was in the game, we'd probably already know about it already, but given what we've seen so far, the insistence on verticality being super important to the game, and it literally being called Monster Hunter Rise, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a small part of me that believes this could just maybe, just the slightest bit possibly, be a thing that happens. And honestly, is it actually that much more ridiculous than the wire bug in general? Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and these have been a number of my ideas and speculations about Monster Hunter Rise, based on the limited information that we have so far. Do you like any of the things that I've mentioned here? Do any of them sound to you like they'll actually happen? Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes when they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or important news about the kingdom Animalia. Rage, Cotton, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear, so if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros, there's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.